According to them, it is.
Yes.
All right, folks, welcome to our Tuesday live show with John Willis from Special Operations Equipment. Hey, are we wearing the same shirt? Check it out.
Um, I can
That's
change
right.
real quick.
I got the memo, apparently. I've got the Angry Prepper on. Tell everybody hello.
What's going on, guys?
Everything's going on. I'm Nicole Sauce from Living Free in Tennessee, and this is just an open discussion. So, friends in the live stream, do me a favor and put your questions in all caps so I can see them because these eyes aren't as great as they used to be. And give it a like and a subscribe and a thumbs up. Share this out to anybody you think will want to hear this. Let's start with you, Angry. Tell us your story. Like, how did you end up doing what you're doing now?
I read a book. It's like I repeat this, and I sound like a broken record, so I am sorry. But I found a book called 1 Second After.
Oh shit.
And after reading the book, and there was a specific scene in the book where the character John Matthews or Madison, whatever his name is, right? He talks about watching kids and people starve and being hungry, and then I'm done with the book. And then I read the afterword by Newt Gingrich and how this is a real thing. It can happen. And then I go on empcommission.org and I'm like, oh, it's real. This can really happen. And so with that, I became a lunatic for about 3-4 months and started buying things I pretty much didn't need. But now I know.
Yeah. I think everybody goes through the lunatic phase, really. It's like part of the awakening process.
Yes, it is.
So, okay, so you were also a firefighter working in New York during the pandemic, right?
Yes.
And how'd that go for you?
So interestingly enough, and I hate to admit it, but it is what it is. When it first started happening, what was that? Like, I started seeing it in China back in 2019, late. I started seeing signs of it, I think, in November, the beginning or mid-November. And I'm looking at it, and then December came around the corner. No, not even. Sorry, the end of November came around the corner. I'm like, this is a problem. Because initially I bought into the nonsense. And then it came here. I was on vacation from the fire department, which is like 2 months worth of vacation, which sucks when you don't have anything planned. And I get back to the firehouse, and I start wiping everything down. I started getting undressed outside the door before I come in the apartment. And then not even 2 weeks in, I realized that we've been lied to. That it wasn't as bad as they were making it out to be.
What made you realize it wasn't as bad?
When I was sitting across from guys who were sick, one guy coughed in my face. I should have choked him out at the time. But anyway, after all of that, and I didn't get sick, and a bunch of guys got sick. And I mean, we sleep in close quarters. We're on a rig together, and I didn't get sick. I'm like, well, it can't be that bad. And then everybody I knew who got sick wound up doing good. They didn't die. One guy passed away, and that was because he was stubborn. So when I questioned somebody who knew him, they were like, yeah, he's a stubborn fireman. He's old school. He thought he had it. And even when he started getting really bad, he still didn't want to go to the hospital. And then he wound up passing away. Had he not been so stubborn, he would have been fine.
What do you think the protocol that they would have used that would have prevented his death would have been? What were they doing at the time?
I think they would have just gave him meds, antibiotics, and he would have been fine. I'm not quite sure what was going on. There was one female firefighter. She was on a ventilator. She's younger than I am. I mean, I'm 46, so she might be 40 or 38 or whatever it is. And she, they said she almost passed away, and she's back on the job now. But that was another close call. But you figure one guy out of 11 or 12,000 members, and I started doing the math. I'm like, something's not right here. Something's not working out, right? If it's as bad as they're saying it is, we should have at least, in the fire side, we should have at least 20, 30 guys, but we didn't. What we have are more guys injured from the arm ticket than we do guys passing away from Mr. 19.
Do you have guys on the job that have those injuries from that right now?
A whole lot of guys are out of work. because they're dealing with it. In fact, I met one guy who, when I came back, so when you come back to the fire department after being out for over a year, I was out for a year and 10 months, you have to do retraining. So I sat in retraining with a bunch of guys. One of them had some kind of stomach issue, and he needed a colostomy bag. He needed all these things, and he wound up coming back. But when I saw him, I'm like, and the whole time I'm looking at the kid, I'm like, he looks like shit. He's pale, he's frail looking. And then he wound up telling me, because I told him why I came back, what I was coming back from. And he was like, I should have did the same thing. And he went down this whole, he needed a colostomy bag. He was sick. He was upset that the job made him take something he didn't need. And now he was out medically for over a year because he took something he didn't need. And so there's a lot of guys like that. In fact, there are a lot of guys who are now being medically separated because of that.
Do they cover those damages, or are they just kind of like you're on your own?
The job's doing the right thing in covering the damages, but they're not saying it's that, right? They're just writing it up as, because of long-term exposure of whatever, or because of breathing this in. This is why this is happening. And I tell guys all the time, I'm like, a lot of you guys are going to be screwed. We're not even at the 5-year mark yet. Wait till we hit the 5, 10, 20-year mark. Guys are going to really start seeing some bad shit.
Yeah, we still have public schools, government schools that are pushing that. Now they want to put that in with the flu vax, and kids have to be vaccinated. Like it's absolutely insane that they're still pushing that stuff, and you still see people out in public walking around with the mask and shit. And you still hear about people still taking. I think they're on their 10th boosters now. It's like absolutely crazy.
Well, it's funny we're talking about this today because I saw one of the singer-writer from Pussycat Dolls, right? They had that hit song a few years back. But anyway, one of the singers, talked about the injury she received from it and how she was talking about how bad it was for her and all the things she went through. And she didn't make the correlation when she had her first signs and symptoms from the first round. She went and took the second round and things really got bad. And then she was like, then she made the connection. Now she's an advocate against it, but now she's blackballed, right? So no one will hire her or pretty much talk to her for that matter.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a friend who had a heart attack after the first one, like within hours. And they told him to wait 6 weeks before taking the second one, but recommended that he take the second one too. Like, despite the fact the first one had caused a heart attack. And he did it. I was like, you're kidding me. Like, the thing I wonder with people who are now seeing the injury, and I don't know if you've talked to them about this, is are they feeling more prepared to say no to you have to keep this job if you don't do this thing? Or are they just going to go, do you think they'll go along to get along next time?
Oh, if it happens again?
Or something similar, yeah.
So,
they're trying to happen again. They keep
bird flu.
They keep pushing it right now. They say there's already a vax
for it.
Yeah.
Now, so I spoke to two people. One of them was one of my kids' mothers. She works for a pharmaceutical company. Sorry. And I had asked her, I said, what if this bird fever or feather fever gets out of hand? What are you going to do? And she's like, I said, what if they want you to take the next, arm ticket? She's like, well, I can't, go without a job. I'm like, I said, wait a minute. Do you want to live to see your kids have grandkids? She goes, yes. I go, you had medical issues when you took the first arm ticket, the first round that she was forced to take. I said, what do you think that's going to do to you? It's going to kill you, undoubtedly. And then you're going to be dead in a box, and your job is not going to back you like my job would, and the kids are going to be separated. I said, so how stupid are you? And she's like, well, you don't have to be that nasty. I'm like, I'm going to be nasty because you're an idiot, because I can't believe what we just went through, and you're considering taking the next round because you want to keep your job. Your job is not going to keep you if you become bedridden or out of their reach sick where they can't do anything for you. They're going to fire you, and you're going to be without a job or crippling shit, like Sloth from the Goonies. I said, is that going to be worth it? And she's like, well, now when you put it like that, I go, and that's why I'm smarter than you, right? And so with that, I speak to a captain. He's covering in our place right now. At least he's bouncing around, but we see him a lot. I had asked him, what if they do this again? What are you going to do? He's like, I need to keep my job. I go, and if you die, your kids don't get to keep you. He's like, well, at least they'll be covered when I'm dead. I'm like, I said, what if you get sick so bad that now you're out on 3/4? Was it worth taking that shot? And I said, you know what? I said, you're young and arrogant. You don't get it yet. I said, when you get sick, you'll understand. And he didn't know what to say. And he was just like, he's not a captain. He's a chief. And he's like, he's staring at me like he didn't know what to say. I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, just because you passed the test doesn't make you the smartest man in the room, right? Unfortunately, like you just asked, I think a lot of people are going to undoubtedly bend the knee because they're going to make it a lot tougher.
Yeah, they learned a lot on the last one.
Well, here's an important question from Simpler Times Homestead. Is Angry Prepper going to SelfReliance Festival?
I guess do it. Yeah. I'm going.
Yeah, he's going. We've been talking about what the session title is, but I had not rolled out the official announcement, but it can't hurt to announce it here on the live stream.
Yeah, I'll be there. Listen, I like what you guys are doing outside of the tri-state area, right? Was it Sustainable Living Homestead? Jason, right? I like what he did out there. You guys, I've heard nothing but good things about your venue, your events. So I'm actually really excited about that. And I don't get excited about much these days. So yeah, I mean, I can't wait.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun. Plus, you'll get to see John's factory.
Oh yeah.
We met in Kentucky at one of the tornadoes that hit when I went up there to meet Bear.
Right, we did.
We stood in the kitchen for a while and spoke for a bit.
Yeah, I remember that. I enjoy meeting other YouTubers. I think I get a kick out of it. It's cool. Like when someone told me who you were, I was like, nope, no idea. Nicole, I'm talking to, right? And then they said it's such a channel, and I was like, nope. And then I went on to I went on to subscribe. I was like, oh, this is a cool channel. And the thing is, there's so many of us now, but which is a good thing. It's a good thing that there's a lot of us.
Yeah, somebody said 2020 really woke people up, and it absolutely did. Like even in this middle of nowhere town, we have 100 farms, and I meet somebody every week who's been here doing like regenerative agriculture and being more prepared and being prepared for the electricity to go off and stuff. And I meet somebody that lives here that's been here for years. Man, there is a ton. They keep trying to control that. And I think that they hit those little farms and especially the raw milk stuff and the Amish. And I think that they do that as an example, right? To make everybody else think twice before they buck back on that system.
Well, yeah. I'm really curious as to how hard they're going to play this next one. And I think that a lot of people like ourselves know that they're going to play the hard role and the hard game, but how hard are they going to push? And if they push too hard, are we prepared to take it all the way? Because that's the only other option, right? Standing out in front of the Capitol or with signs is not it. It's not going to be the answer.
No,
it can't be.
Yeah, you'll know when they cut down interstate commerce and they close those state lines. You'll know that's when it's real.
Yep.
It's very interesting that they timed it for another election year.
Well, it's the Hegelian dialectic. I mean, they always telegraph that punch: create the problem, amplify the problem, be the solution. I mean, we watched them do it. I mean, they war game it every time. Like with the event 201 in 2018, prior to the whole deal happening, and then they do the whole rollout. They war gamed it again with the control of the internet and control of social media and stuff. I mean, they always tell you what they're going to do.
Yeah, big time.
You know, back to your point about meeting all these YouTubers, because of course you haven't heard of my channel because I have like 4,000 followers. It's hard to find us, right? And the thing that's important, I think, in our network is there are a lot of people who do really cool things. We've got a guy on here who he was at SelfReliance Festival, asked John a question, and John said, we'll work out every day. And since that SelfReliance Festival, almost, I guess it was a year ago, October, he has videotaped himself working out no matter what happens, like carrying things up and down stairs, doing push-ups, whatever. When you share that, you motivate other people to feel strong enough to stand up. So anybody who has a story to share or a way to show how you are opting out or how you're analyzing things factually or anything of those natures to understand what's going on, when you share that, you probably help 10 other people, even if you only have 100 people looking at what you're doing. And that's all it takes. We just got to keep doing that, a person at a time.
Absolutely. And yeah, I agree. And being that this field is growing, and listen, people, I don't know why, think that, my channel is great and all this other crazy shit, but I'm like, and I did all of my prepper shit in the beginning when I first started. And damn every video you could think of, I did. But you guys living out there in the sticks, right, with land that you can farm, that's who people should be watching, not some not some asshole in the city, dealing with bullshit. And people ask me for updated videos, which I'm going to start doing, but I think the mission, man, is to get the hell out of the city and land somewhere where you have your own piece of land.
Well, we have room for you.
Thank you. And listen, I am looking at I'm looking closely at Tennessee, so that's definitely the move. I got to talk to the pension guy, I guess this week, right? I guess this week, and see what they're going to tell me, because if they tell me I could bounce next year with X amount of money, I'm gone.
Yeah, you're welcome out here, man. You're welcome. I can speak. I know you're welcome with Burr. We got people in Ohio, man. We got people all over from doing these events. And I always use, like, California, San Diego is the extreme for distance, but we'll have people that come here every one of these events and meet somebody that literally lives like 10 miles away from them that they haven't met ever in 30 years. You just have to go where those common like-minded people are. And we might even have the same script, but you learn, or you just mesh with somebody a little bit differently, even though they're doing the same thing. You just got to get on the ground and meet those groups.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I think it's as important to find the lands and regulations that you like as to find the people that you gel with. I think those two things together are great, because like I've been going through a time where I'm not on my homestead enough right now. And because I know people around me, it can happen. If I had just isolated out here by myself, I'd be here. I'd be stuck here. So that community piece is huge.
And living someplace with no codes and no zoning, man. When you're able to just do what you want to do and not ask permission, and nobody can show up and go, hey, you have to undo that. Once you taste that, man, you can never go anywhere else.
Yeah, I see that all the time. Like when guys in the firehouse talk about building decks and all those other crap.
Yeah.
I'm like, you need a permit to build a deck on your property? They go, yeah. I go, that's illegal. That's got to be illegal. I mean, you have your own piece of land that they said is yours, but now you got to run it by City Hall because you want to put a shed in the back. Oh, the shed's got to be this by this by this, and that only that high. 1 centimeter over, and we got to give you a fine. I'm like, yeah, sorry.
And God forbid you want to put some lights on that motherfucker. God forbid, put up some outdoor lights or paint it.
That's that's true insanity. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
So Palmetto Paratrooper says, I offered Jason free wine for life to move to Oklahoma, and he's still not here. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say maybe you should change that to bourbon.
Maybe.
Just based on your shirt today.
I was looking at Oklahoma too. Oklahoma has a lot of cheap land, and it's especially like northern Oklahoma I could definitely deal with, but I can't deal with flat lands. I'm out of that shit. Like Nebraska, like Wyoming, though, like northern Wyoming has mountains, or is it east, northeast, southeast? But anyway, I mean southwest.
West.
Yeah, southwest has the mountains. But then like Montana, North Dakota, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm out of that shit.
So you've got a couple other YouTube channels. You have 3 of them. Is one of them more busy than the other? And how much crossover do you have between the 3 of them?
So the Angry Truths channel and the Angry Prepper, there's a lot of crossovers with that. The Angry Prepper Fitness, I'll mention once in a blue on the Angry Prepper channel. That's like a Fitness Over 40 page, which thank you for reminding me. I got to do a couple videos this week. That's, and that's growing. That's getting there. I have an Angry Lensman channel, but I don't have any videos on it. I just share pictures and shorts on there. I might, if people start asking for like equipment questions about what I use to take pictures with, I'll start doing videos or at the very least shorts on it. But I figured that's an easy way for a lot of people who don't have Instagram. They can see my work on the Angry Lensman.
Yeah.
Why'd you decide to do different channels for those things, just to niche down, or?
Yeah, because to talk about, like, for example, and this is I'm still working on this. I was going to do a movie channel, right? And a lot of us, I found on the Angry Prepper, there's a ton of movies we could talk about, that are like prep unrelated to prepping. So I don't want to, like make the channel an everything channel, right? When I talk about the arm ticket, a lot I talk about on the Angry Truth channel, especially all the stuff coming out. When I talk about prepping or things that in regards to prepping that are going to possibly put us in a jam, Prepper channel. Anything to stay healthy and fit, Angry Prepper Fitness, because you want to have focus on the channel. You don't want your channel to be all over the place, right? I start talking about 80s and 90s movies. A lot of people, we get into live streams where we talk 20 minutes about that, So I'm like, why not just do, a channel on movies and talk about 80s movies and things that happen behind the scenes. And, that can be, like a decent, that channel would be a decent money-making channel. My prepping channel, it makes money, but I don't focus on it because I think people should know about prepping. Right?
Are those all YouTube channels, or are you over on Rumble with some of those?
I'm on Rumble with the Angry Prepper. I'm going to open up an Angry Truth on there as well. And I can start putting uncut versions on Rumble, right?
Yeah, man. When you're ready to launch that movie channel, I will volunteer. Mine and Nicole's friend, Toolman Tim, he does a ton of movie reviews, and we'll get you over on his to do your first one to introduce your channel to launch that. Man, that'll be a great channel.
Yeah, I'm just trying. I just need a good title. I'm trying to stay like the angry reviewer. It sounds too weak. I need something maybe a little different. I don't know, because my photography company or business is called the Angry Lensman.
I like
it. Right? Yeah, and that catches a lot of people's eye. People go, man, why is he so angry? And they look at the work and they're like, oh, it's not bad,
How about like Angry Flicks or something like that?
I like that. Angry Flicks.
I think you need to keep angry across the board as the brand.
Ooh, the Angry Critic. So you just started a brainstorm. Yeah.
The Angry Critic. Angry at the
movie critic. I
like that.
Angry at the movies. That's good too. Man, the fitness thing's big. I do a live every night, and inevitably somebody asks, because I walk through my gym and stuff, and guys always ask about that. And it is contagious, man. Guys that were not working out, all of a sudden, when you tell them fitness is free and movement clears the mind, you get a few dudes every time that really latch on to that and take that on as a lifestyle. And the more prepared they are, the more fit they are, then, the better off they're going to be in whatever you do. And same with doing business with those dudes. When you have a dude that's on that fitness journey, he's going to be clearer of mind, and he's going to execute a lot faster on anything you're doing business-wise as well.
And that's the craziness is like I get up in the morning now. I haven't done it in 2 days because of the photography gigs, but I get up in the morning, I do a kettlebell routine, or I do the old man routine, one or the other, or sometimes both. And then I go for a walk, and then I'm done for the day, right?
Yeah.
And then I get to focus on the things I need to focus on,
Yeah, I used to watch all your rucking videos when you were out doing live while you're rucking. I used to be on all those.
Well, I got to bring them back then.
Get John back on.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we don't realize how influential you are. to people because they just don't comment, right? Or you have so many comments, you don't constantly see them. But anytime I miss doing something, miss a 4:30 workout, they're there to tell you, hey man, I was there, and I noticed that you weren't there. So there's people watching, even though they're not telling you that, they're being influenced by that. And that's definitely a positive message.
I think a lot of the people we attract are doing something while watching us. So many of them are not actually looking. They're listening while they do something.
Yeah.
So, and then it's hard to comment. Like I know when I'm doing a Garden 30, if I'm listening instead of streaming, my hands are in the weeds. I'm not typing comments about anything.
And they're wet, and then you touch your phone and it
Yeah.
doesn't work right. Yeah. Take the ride 23. How much weight have you lost? I know you've dropped a ton, but I know that you're a lot more fit too. So that muscle's dense. Like you look like a completely different person than just a year ago.
Yeah, that's the guy who started working out every day.
Yeah.
I'm like listening now.
Yep. Empty.
Yeah, you know what? I don't want to. There's so much research right now with building muscle and staying fit for longer, losing weight just by walking, right? After each meal. That is the easiest thing you can do, right? Even if you paced around your living room or paced around your home or walked your land after you ate, you won, right? But they don't want us to do that. They want us to, again, the devil's play with the Netflix and chill. That's eat dinner, watch TV, and chill and get fat. And
poison.
Right. And before the wife and I separated, she's like, what are we gonna do after dinner? I'm like, I'm gonna go for a walk. I said, you're coming or are you staying? And sometimes she would call me, a lot of the times she stayed behind. But now when I started this whole thing, I was 279 or 280 round up. I'm 255. I'm trying to get down to 250. And that's my first target weight. And then my next one is 240 to 235. Next target weight. I'm trying to get ripped by next year just to see what I look like, achieve it, and then be like, I'm not doing this anymore. Not to say I'm going to I'm not going to, put my body in that kind of, constraints, trying to at 46, trying to stay ripped. That's like incredibly hard.
No, it's not. You just have to put different shit in your mouth. You know how to do it.
Yeah, it's called crack cocaine because that's the only thing that's short.
Nah,
you should
especially
kids around here. They are ripped.
Yeah. There's some in shape zombies. They're doing all kinds of weird twitching and shit though.
I guess that's probably it because they're twitching even while they're sleeping. They're burning body fat.
Fast muscle twitch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
Yep.
What's your day at work look like, man? Are you working on a rig? Are you doing like high angle fires? Or are you a paramedic on a rig? Or what do you do?
So those TV shows that people love watching? What is it, like Station 19 or whatever it is? And
yeah, are you about to say we don't do none of that shit?
None of that crap. Yeah. We're not as sensitive as that crew. That's number one. Two, listen. We do a lot of maintenance style shit, right? So stuck elevators, people get trapped in the elevators. Gas leaks. I don't know what's going on. Just turn the gas off, lady. There's a knob in the back. Nope, but they call us, we go. Electrical issues, we shut down their power when they can do that themselves. And then we go to fires. And fires, thank God, and I hate to say, a lot of people don't get it, but thank God they picked up because that's what I became a fireman for. Became a fireman to actually go into a burning building and not get a cat off a rooftop that's been stuck up there for 2 days. But yeah, we are on rigs. We respond to everything, anything and everything. Housing, you guys know about housing authority and how they work? Okay, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, they're jerk-offs, right? So what happens is people in the housing will call and they're like, listen, I got water dripping down my wall, and then they call the fire department. Housing then dispatches us out.
Holy shit.
Yeah, more than once, I've yelled at them for being lazy because I'm like, this is not our job. If it's in the walls, we can't do anything about it, right? Obviously, if it's leaking out of the walls and it's a problem, then we have to shut the water down to the building. But then we resign that to housing because they know where all the plumbing is. But we also deal with a high amount of dangerous stupidity. So, quick story: the lady calls 911 because she smells smoke. We see the address. I'm like, this is going to be the stupidest call we're ever going to go on. I already knew it. We get there, And she goes, I smell smoke. The captain's like, well, there's a fire right outside your window. She looked out her window. She could see it was a fourth alarm going. Actually, it had died off at that point, but the building was still smoking. She goes, what do I do? He goes, close your windows. She goes, but then he goes, then nothing. She's like, but I can still smell it. He goes, okay. She goes, but when's the fire going to go off? I said, I'm walking away. I told her, I'm out of here. And she's like, when's it going to go off? He goes, we're just going to turn off the switch and then and it'll be done.
It'll be done.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, like, it just, you see people call you for things that are out of control, and you just, it hurts my brain. I feel like the longer I stay and the stupider the calls get, the worse I'm going to become by the time I leave this job.
It's crazy that you're being dispatched for housing authority for maintenance shit. Like that's absolutely insane.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, listen, if you had ever stopped by New York and you got on some of the calls and you went on some of the calls we went on, you'd just be like, yo, this is fucking insanity. And it's a waste of resources, right? The gas that we used or the diesel that we use, it's draining the city's pockets because we keep going on stupidity. You know, I had a guy 20 years ago when I was an EMT. He called. We go up to the apartment. And I can hear the music blasting. He's on 15. We can hear the music on the first floor. We get up to 15. The music is blaring, like the guys outside in the hallway, you know, having a party. So we knock on the door. We had to wait to the break in music. Knock on the door. He opens his door. His apartment is pitch black inside. He has shades on. He goes, did you guys bring me a sandwich? I said, what did you say? He goes, did you guys bring me a sandwich? I ordered a sandwich. I said, you called 911 for a sandwich? He goes, yeah. And with that, without missing a beat, I flipped out. I started getting in his ass. My partner was holding me back. He's like, yo, take a walk. I'm like, fuck him. I said, and he's being disrespectful to his neighbors. 2 o'clock in the morning, he's blasting his music. I said, if we come back again, I'm breaking you and your stereo in a million pieces. And that was it. We walked off. And shit like that is how our resources are raised.
Man, that's wild, man. We don't have any of those problems because we can't see our neighbors. Like all the crazy stuff that happened during 2019, 2020, 99% of that didn't exist here. Most of it didn't even exist in Nashville. There was some silly stuff, but not like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they had one fiery but peaceful protest in Nashville.
Oh yeah,
and then people got arrested.
Yeah, they disappeared some people in Nashville when that first started out. Like there was a bunch of stuff that didn't really get televised, but they shut that shit down like quick.
Good.
Oh yeah, you want to read that? He said, I went on a call where a guy wanted transported to the hospital because he liked their ginger ale that the hospital had.
Homestead Medical will tell you that most of their calls are getting they're all of his guys have like back damage and stuff from moving insanely obese people downstairs and shit, just trying to get huge people downstairs.
Yeah, it's even worse when it's like 10-story walk down because the elevator broke or they can't fit in there. You know, I mean, it's insanity. You know, to get that fat, that means you have to eat and do nothing, right? You have to actually be eating laying down so that you burn zero energy and 0 calories to get that fat. I mean, and people are fine with it. That's bizarre to me.
Well, it's an emotional thing, I think, at that point.
Yes, I mean,
like there's nothing better in your life, maybe, except for food.
Yeah.
There's always hope, man. They can always change it. They can always change it. And sometimes it's just hearing that dude on the internet tell them you can do this. Like it took 10 years to get this way. It's going to take 10 years to get back, but you can turn it back and start going the other direction at any time, man. And we run into people that are like, I listened to your video every morning, or I heard you every time you were on a live and I was sitting there listening. And every time you said, fuck, I did, I tried to do 10 push-ups or I did 10 squats, man. It accumulates. And you do, like you yourself I guarantee you have a bunch of people whose lives you've changed, and they just haven't told you that yet.
I mean, if
Okay,
that's
so let's go back to your prepping journey. So you said you went out and bought a bunch of stuff that you didn't need originally.
all right.
What do you recommend for people who are just aware that it's time to be a little bit more prepared because stuff is not as stable as they thought? What would you tell them to do to get started, like the first 2 or 3 things?
Make a list of what you need and what you want. And make a column on a paper and say what you need and what you want. Right? Wants are the things that all preppers find a reason and to tell their wives that they need it, but they just want it. And things you need would be like starting out with food. How much food? Well, I tell people try to aim for a month at first, right? And see where that gets you and see how much you're spending. Keep track of what you're spending on the food. That's ultimately going to allow you to either bump it up a little bit or back down. Make sure you have medical kit and get medical training. I think that's going to be far more important with the things coming our way, especially if hospitals are overrun and or closed down. And the most important thing, and I tell people, is psychological. Make sure you're psychologically strong to handle whatever happens. Because you can have all of the preps in the world. You can have your 2, 3, 5 years worth of food, water, and supplies. If you can't handle what happens outside of your home and you have a mental break over it, then everything you did was for nothing. If you wind up becoming depressed and a hermit and eating a bullet, then everything you did was for nothing. So you have to be psychologically strong to handle what's heading our way, unfortunately.
That's all really good. What would you say, John?
Give me the question again.
The question is, what would you tell people getting started in prepping to do based on what you learned through because you did the same thing when you first became a prepper, is you just bought everything.
Well, just start. I mean, and yeah, 3 months, 3 years, but think in threes, right? 3 minutes, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, and it accumulates. And when you start building that foundation of that pyramid, you can do all the super cool stuff. You can get the Toyota 4Runner with all the racks, and you can get the gun with all the lasers and lights and night vision and shit. But you still have to have that foundation and all those little pieces of that foundation that build that. No matter what your emergency is, it all works for everything past that, right? 3 minutes. You got to have air and you got to have blood flow for 3 minutes, right? 3 hours. You have to have the same thing for 3 hours. And how do you get out of that area within 3 hours? And then 3 days, right? You have to have water and you need some food for 3 days. Once you have those, then you go to 3 weeks and 3 months, but it all still works forward as you go. And I always go back to the fitness is free. It doesn't matter how badass your Bugout Bag is. Dudes build these bags out that are 80 pounds and they can't walk a mile without a bag. Like just make some motion and do something.
Yeah, JC Fixer says you've all inspired me to quit making excuses no matter how small.
Start an Instagram page, man, and come out and go, hey, I am starting my fitness journey. I don't know what I don't know. Help me be accountable. And then every day, just make a post of what you're doing every day. And believe me, the dudes ain't going to show up to so there'll be people supporting you, but the day you slip, there'll be a bunch of people calling you out about it. There's people watching.
Oh. And now for something completely different. What is Angry Prepper's go-to bourbon?
Anything aged over 12 years. So I have a Macallan, and then I have a Yamazaki, Japanese whiskey. Anything over 12 years, I'm in on.
That's a very simple parameter.
Yeah.
So you were talking to me at Kentucky Sustainable about having a place in the country, correct? Tell us how that has gone.
Oh, no, I was looking to get a place.
You were looking to get a place, okay.
Upstate New York, but with everything moving as fast as it is, I think the ultimate trigger to pull is just to get out of New York State, period, right? Leaving New York City is the first step, but I'm looking at apartments and places to live upstate New York, out of the city. Um, but to get, to pull that trigger, I might as well just get land and a house when I'm done. And then,
Yep.
don't have to worry about this moving back and forth nonsense, Don't get me wrong. I mean, I could possibly buy land in Oklahoma and Tennessee now and then travel between then. At least I have like something set up. But, yeah, that's the goal. But again, everything's moving too fast these days, man.
So what do you mean by that? Moving too fast?
So initially, I thought I was going to stay an additional 5 years. Now it looks like I might only have to stay one more, right? And I have to figure out what the pension guy tells me that's going to dictate how fast I buy land and how fast I get out of the city. Either way, worst case scenario, it's 5 more years.
Yeah. And what are you doing to get ready for that transition? Are you practicing any skills or anything of that nature?
No, you know what? I took the completely lazy way out. And when I get land, I'm just going to watch YouTube and shoot from the hip. And obviously contact people who know and have them walk me through it. But as far as like trying to like farm here, and grow bags are about as best I can do in an apartment. Other than that, I don't have any access to sun, unless I was on the south side of the building. If I had this on the south side of the building, I'd probably have a raised garden, but I don't. I face north, so there's no sun up here.
Yeah, makes sense. And what kind of community are you looking for?
Community of one. I don't know. I don't mind teaming up with people, but people are so let down, disappointing, and often change their ways when something doesn't go right? So when we had the arm ticket push here in New York, every guy that I knew were like going to make a stand, and we're not going to take the arm ticket, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. And then when push came to shove, they turned into bitches, right? So people disappoint too often for me to like want to be in a community. I would help out a community, if they needed me to do something, or absolutely. But to be in a community, people let me down too many times for me to want to take part.
Makes sense. I got a question here from Colin. What do we think is the most likely event in the next year that would separate the wheat from the chaff, sort of like CV did?
Shit.
Do you think it's the bird thing?
I think so. I mean, I'm the way they're marketing it, if you will. I think so.
I think, yeah. I mean, especially if it's a real pandemic or a real virus or something, would definitely make all of that very evident. Even if it's not a real one, I think you're going to see them just do the things that they kind of tested the waters with. I mean, there were plenty of big name media people saying we should just it's a pandemic of the unvaxxed. We should take them and put them in re-education camps. We should put them in prison. I expect they'll probably just do that on the next time around, or try to do that. I mean, they have facilities built. They have huge facilities built for that stuff. A lot of those people that said that, there's also compilation videos of them saying, this is a pandemic of the unvaxxed. We need to separate them for society. And then in the next second, you see them actually die on television. Dozens of them dudes just passed away right on national TV. So I don't know, man. Just get out of the cities as best you can. Don't be where that's going to happen. Don't be someplace where there's a lockdown if it happens. And 99% of the problems that happened that you saw amplified on social media did not happen in rural areas.
No, they didn't.
I think there's going to be something of an economic nature that comes
up
up.
currently.
Like we're watching the dollar kind of, it looks like it's going to no longer be the global currency. It hasn't officially happened yet, but it's happening. And I'm wondering what, I don't know specifically, but what happens when that becomes apparent, and then with the runaway inflation and everything else going on, either rebasing the dollar, flipping the switch for CBDC as a means of control, right?
Well, I think that's already happening. I mean, you're seeing that happen all over the place right now. People have less money money to spend. People are growing gardens. People are getting chickens, and they're fighting back over zoning, over having the chickens. A lot of it's just perception and just being aware that it's there. Like, take your money and spend it into things that will make you better. Spend it on knowledge and skills and tangible shit. People are not going to the movies right now. People are not buying new cars right now. People are not going and doing as much entertainment right now. You just had California come out and said all their unemployed numbers were complete horse shit. They just made them up over the last 12 months, and they actually admitted it. It's happening. Just be someplace where it doesn't affect you as much. Remember that during the Great Depression, when all that food was not present for people to eat and they had to make all kinds of crazy recipes, the government paid all those farmers not to farm. You're seeing that shit happen right now. They're cutting water rights off in a dozen different states. I mean, Idaho, they just turned water off to half a million acres of potatoes after they had already planted at $4,000 an acre.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Yep. Washington, Oregon, California, Colorado. It's happening in Texas. They said 2-3 years ago that water, you weren't going to have water rights anymore. It was going to be a commodity traded on the stock market. And they're well underway with that.
Michael, damn, what the hell's his name? He was in he was involved in that whole 2008 crash. Michael Burr, I think his name is. And could be wrong. But yeah, he had foresaw the 2008 crash, and he moved his company investments into water.
Yep.
When I saw that, I was like, man, we are screwed. Because if this guy is seeing the movements with water, we're undoubtedly, listen, the water situation, we all knew was going to get bad. But the fact that, I think that they keep poisoning the water sources around the world, not even just here in the United States, around the world, they're making it tighter for us to get water from certain areas and going to charge us more. But to your point with the economy and the money, something catastrophic has to happen to get everybody on board to sign over to the
CBDC.
Thank you. Because because there are a lot of states that are not going to buy into it, right? And they'll try to force them to. A lot of states are, from what I heard, again, it's rumor, a lot of states are signing up and trying to start their own, sort of like what the Confederates did during the Civil War, right?
Look
and a lot of states. Huh?
Look at the gold backs. You have states making gold backs right now, which is a very durable dollar-like bill. I think it's 1,000th of an ounce. And you have, like in Reno, you have over 220 businesses that you can walk into, and they will take gold backs and exchange them for goods and services. And I think there's over a dozen states right now that are issuing their own gold backs.
Right. And so, again, something catastrophic has to happen to get everybody away from even the gold backs, or we see another civil war, or, which I'm advocating for, is a revolution. We definitely need something to happen, because this, someone says I have several gold backs. No shit. We definitely need something, man. What's going on here in this country, we flipped out over this for way less. And we went from throwing tea into the river for a 2-3% hike to now paying taxes on everything, and in fact being double and triple taxed in some cases.
Well, everybody's pacified, right? As long as you have internet and electricity, everybody is amused. The amusement, the modern day gladiator games, is your football and your basketball and your Netflix, right? People have never walked out the door and had something pounce on them, right? The difference between a first world country and a third world country is a person in the third world country spends half their life boiling their water so that the water, in fact, does not kill them, and collecting fuel and collecting water and food. We don't have to do that. We keep people alive that will not keep themselves alive.
Right.
Men have no calluses anymore.
Well, here's the unfortunate part, which, it could be good or bad, depends on how you look at it. Whatever happens next, that puts us at odds with whatever that disaster is, right? So if it's the government or something natural, a lot of people are going to die. And I'm almost at this point, like, my fingers crossed, at least the stupid people go first, because the insanity that we're seeing today is based and built on stupidity. And we cannot allow stupid people to be in positions of power anymore. I mean, look at where we are. They said so instead of fighting over taxes, instead of throwing, I would love to say tea into the river, they're keeping us pacified and separated by the nonsense that they got going on. Oh, we can't remember the Occupy Wall Street. Those are the people, right, that were protesting against the rich and the 1% that are making decisions for the 99%, right? Then you had a conservative movement that was sort of like Occupy Wall Street, but again, on the other side of the aisle. And when they started seeing that, now all of a sudden the LGBT movement became a thing. That's separating us right now because you got guys running around playing soccer with girls, outlifting women in deadlift competitions. And then we have the abortion talk. That's all of the divisive nonsense that they want us to focus on and no longer talk about cash money and banks.
Well, it's just further division, right?
Right.
We say things like, well, they tax us and give it to Ukraine. Our tax money doesn't go into an account and then go to Ukraine. The money they send around the world is just make-believe. They just create that. They take money from you to keep you in a lower position and keep you into believing that the system has not in fact collapsed when it actually has collapsed already. Because if we realize who the real enemy is, we all come together as one power, and then we tar and feather them or put them in stockades or in fact hang them. It's not black and white. It's not gay and straight anymore. The dude that's going to tell on you for a bump stock is a dude that looks just like you and has the same stickers on his truck and in fact drives the same truck you have. It's a dude who you trusted enough to tell you had the bump stock. And it's this, man. It's this thing right here has done such a good job at further and further division.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say big time. He's right.
Yeah. It's also done a really good job of making our short attention spans even shorter.
Absolutely.
It completely feeds that. And then I don't know how y'all are, but every so often I realize I'll be out doing a project for a couple hours and I'll realize I haven't looked at the phone for a couple hours. I'm almost uncomfortable. Like, what's going on in the phone?
Yeah.
And that's just a sign I need to do it more.
Think about all the negative stuff in your life and all your inability to actually perform. It comes from this. You get stuck in this thing when you're on the toilet or when you're just sending a message, then all of a sudden a notification. If you turn this off, just turn this motherfucker off for about 3-4 days or a week. You'll be amazed. Every time I smash one of these, a razor usually or a skid steer rolls over it, and I'm without a phone for a week. I get a ton of shit done in that week. Believe me, if the missiles are coming or the meteorite's coming, somebody's going to tell you. You're going to know even without this thing.
Yeah, is this Billy Bird person an actual?
Yes.
Okay, good.
That's your biggest fan.
Sure.
Yes.
I was like number 1 fan, or do I need to bounce him?
No, she's a real person.
Awesome.
Thank you, Billy Bird. It's funny what I do now with my phone, but it pisses off the ex-wife and one of my son's mothers. Like, I'll put my phone where I can't see it.
Yep.
Right. I get a lot of work done when I do that, and then I look on the phone and I have 18,000 messages. Meanwhile, if I have the screen open, looking at it, not one person texts me. But I get, and when I'm in the forest, for example, out of range, which I love, I don't ever look at my phone unless I want to capture a picture or a video of something. I don't ever look at my phone, and I'm finding more that I can go without my phone for longer. Like obviously, if it's an emergency, I tell people, if I don't answer you within the first hour, that means I'm away from the phone. I said, so if it's an emergency, sorry, and I also tell people if it's that bad, it already passed. Me responding to it right away in an hour or 3 hours from now is not going to make much of a difference.
Yep. Don't call me. I'm not the one that can save you right now.
Yeah, my phone goes into deep, like, you can't reach me at night mode at night.
Right.
And I just told Mom, if something ever happens to you in the middle of the night, I'm not going to know till the morning. She's like, that's fine. You can't do anything anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, like if somebody dies, I'm like, they can't get any more dead than they already are if I respond 8 hours later,
Yep.
Yeah.
Get those. Everybody talks about Faraday bags. Like, where's that Faraday bag all you guys said you were getting? Use that thing for once. Try it out. It actually works. I turn this thing off every night I go to bed. Some mornings I wake up, it's turned itself back on. Have that thing locked in a bag.
It turns itself back on.
Yes.
You got a Samsung?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yep.
Yeah, I put mine across the house on a charger that I can't
There
hear.
was a big YouTube channel bought 2 brand new phones and put one in airplane mode and then went all around DC. And then when they activated the phone, it knew everywhere it was, even though the phone had not been activated and the other one was in airplane mode. It still logged all of their whereabouts.
No shit.
Yep.
Colin says, have you all heard about Project 2025? The left sees it like the right sees Deep State 2030 movement.
I have not. I will definitely look into that. What you need to be aware of is America 2050. That is the newest program with all your smart cities and stuff. It's not Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030. Like that stuff's coming past. They're way ahead of schedule. It's Agenda 2050.
Well, they modify everything. So they got those, what is it, C40 cities?
Yep.
When you look at that, you're like, that's bad. That's worse than a smart city. Because when you look on their website, there's no meat on there. Everything is vegetables and fruits.
Yep.
I'm like, man, I can't.
And crickets.
Yeah, I fucking die living there.
Yeah, right now Walmart has over 1,000 products, iconic products that you grew up with, that have bug protein in them on the label. It just doesn't say cricket or mealworm. They have other names for them.
Really?
Yes.
They try to trick us as best they can.
Yep.
Because I'm on to them.
Yeah, everybody within 30 minutes of you, no matter where you are, you can go to a farm, you can find a farmer, and you can see the cow that you're going to buy. Like you can fill your freezer up. Everybody has that ability.
Yeah, ironically, when I was traveling in Thailand, I almost ate fried crickets or locusts or whatever they were, just to try it. But then I couldn't bring myself to do it. Although I know I could, but yeah.
See, I wanted to try out bugs, like as a meal replacement before they started talking about forcefully replacing our meals with it. And now I'm out on it, like I said, I would put that in my preps if I had to. Now they're like, and a lot of the bugs are bioengineered. And I'm like, wait, what? So on top of telling us we have to eat bugs, now they're bioengineered?
And what are they feeding the bugs?
Yeah, I'm like, yo, that's insanity to me. When I saw that, I couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm like, so you're telling us to eat bugs, but now you're telling us to eat bioengineered bugs. Like, it's just getting worse all the way down the what you call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nicole, what are your thoughts on Project 2025? The answer is I will look into it, but I am purposefully not consuming much of that type of thing for the next 3 weeks. So it will be after 3 weeks from now, I might have an opinion. Sometimes I go on hiatus from that stuff.
Yeah, Project 2025. I didn't hear that, but
executive branch of the U.S. federal government under direct presidential control, eliminating the independence of the DOJ, the FBI, federal communications. Sounds fucking awesome. They're never going to do it.
Yeah, I can't see them pulling that off.
Yeah.
Nope.
Not now, anyway.
So thoughts on 3D printed meat?
It's in the store right now.
They already do it.
Yeah, there is a huge thread for the local Facebook group for this little town. Had over 250 comments last night. Somebody said they bought T-bones or something from Walmart, and there wasn't even any infighting. Nobody even disagreed with it. They said buy from the local butcher shop, buy from the local farm. All of the meat at Walmart is trash. Like that's the first time I've ever seen a thread where there wasn't any infighting. Everybody was in agreement with it.
Yeah, the 3D meat is not good. So it's bad.
Meat glue, as Jose says here.
Yeah, well, if you look at a lot of the box stores, it says a product of the United States. It comes from out of the country. All they have to do is package it in the United States to be labeled a product of the United States.
Right.
Well, and they did build some factories here to do some of those Beyond Burger sorts of things. They've also shut some of them down because it hasn't been selling well enough. But those plants are set up for that, I'm sure. Yeah,
I thought they went bankrupt, the Beyond Meat thing. Bezos bought into that. They had 3 full aisles in Whole Foods, and they don't even have an aisle of it anymore, is my understanding, at least in Nashville.
Well, they took a beating because people found out the garbage that's in it and the fact that growing Beyond Meat for what is that, the like vegetarian and vegan lifestyle is doing more harm to the environment than actually having cows.
Yeah.
The amount of things and processing you have to do to get that stuff to that stage to then package it so that a moron can buy it is why they're having such a hard time now financially.
Yeah, the state of Tennessee had hearings talking about vaccinations and produce, and it has to be labeled saying what the vaccination is, because your 20-pound, you might give this to your 20-pound child, whereas a 250-pound man, the vaccination is going to be different, right? Well, what that forced them to do is in court admit that they are already putting vaccinations in leafy products and lettuces that are in the store already. And they admitted to that. They had to, under oath, admit they're already doing it. Now they have to disclose what the RNA vaccine in each product is going to be and how much.
Yeah, I saw that the other day. I was doing a deep dive into it to talk about it. And I found that to be very interesting. But this is how they keep us pacified, right? They keep us looking at R. Kelly and what's that, Puffy and that bullshit, right? And then they do all of these things. And when you tell people about it, people go, no, that's not. Like, there was a guy in my fire. We got into an argument over this. He thinks that the arm ticket's still good. It's safe. I was like, are you fucking stupid? Do you see all the guys that are on medical leave? What's wrong with you? He's like, yeah, well, he goes, just because you didn't take it don't mean you're healthier than I am. I said, it means exactly that. I said, because when you hit the 5-year mark and your dick falls off, guess who's going to be intact? Me. You, on the other hand, are going to have blood clots or something. And he's an older guy, too. I said, listen, when we get to the 5 and 10-year mark, we'll have this discussion again.
Yeah, and lowering testosterone.
We don't even really know the impact on people with autoimmune system disorders, which is prevalent, or if it pushes it that way.
Well, it's amplifying. It's actually creating autoimmune diseases.
Right. There are a ton of people and studies and findings right now that are stating like, oh, a lot of women are miscarrying who took it and miscarried right away. Right. There are women who, women who are having now odd menstruations now, where the menstruation's off because of this. So there's all of these signs out there, and studies are being done in other countries. The United States will not take any of these studies and do anything about it.
Yeah, they said that during COVID, the miscarriage rate for the Department of Defense was up 79%. And when you look at the actuaries for, I think the last numbers out were like 22, the actuary, the death rate for males between 18, the payouts on life insurance between 18 and 64 were up 85%. Those are some huge numbers, and only one thing coincides with any of those numbers.
Yeah, and people refuse to make that connection.
And then you look at, like lower testosterone, right? Of course they want you to eat poison and not take time. Look at the attack, how hard it is. If your daughter wanted to become a boy, they would just dump her full of testosterone. But when you talk about testosterone with a normal doctor, they're actually very combative about it, man. They are very much against it, because testosterone drives energy, it drives aggression, it drives, it keeps them in positions of power. And if you're a lady hearing this, ladies have testosterone too. If you have no sex drive, you have no energy, you have brain fog, testosterone is probably one of your markers that is completely off.
Yeah, and the thing is, and I'm a big advocate against what is that, TRX or TXR? There's some new drug out there that a lot of guys are flying to, but I'm like, you're locked in that for life once you start the cycle. It's not like steroids where you can stop and continue to lift. This stuff you're locked in on, and guys are like, you should get your testosterone tested. I'm like, listen, I'm eating this, I'm doing that, I'm working out, and then they're like, yeah, but it's short term. I'm like, it's not short term. So they're telling you that so you can take that medication to be in it for life. I said, I guarantee you, I get tested right now, my testosterone's through the roof. The other side of that coin is I don't trust doctors. So maybe they'll test my blood, it'll score low so that they can put me on this nonsense that I do not want to take.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's hard to find a doctor who you can trust, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And part of, I don't know that it's a big conspiracy. I think part of it is when you have been in a profession with that specialty that long, you know what you know there. And you're not programmed to look beyond that necessarily, although I know doctors who do. And we have doctors in our network who do.
Well, they're owned by pharmaceutical companies. I mean, you and I both know Doc Barry. He wrote a book called Lies Your Doctor Told You. And that's what he said. He said, I won't take visits with pharmaceutical reps. And you have your doctors where they lease them the Tesla, they send them on cruises, they pay for the condo. Those doctors are beholden to those groups. When you go to these, even like fast pace or urgent care, they're owned by a company. They can only operate and maneuver so many different parameters. They cannot do what needs to be done and do what they have to do to issue out the drugs.
Right. And that's how we know the medical community is corrupt. Yeah. Go ahead.
There's a sliding scale on when they prescribe a drug. They don't make any money when they prescribe one drug. When they prescribe two drugs, they make a little on the second and some on the first. 3 is the magic number, so they get the full pay on all 3 of those. Many doctors have said this, like they've come out public. If you look, and it's all insurance based. If you need an MRI costs between $6,000 and $9,000. Cash price on an MRI is $900. The first thing they do when you go to a doctor is, do you have insurance? As soon as you disclose that you have insurance, they cannot discuss a cash price. So if you have a co-op, if you pay 50% on your copay on a $6,000 MRI, you're going to spend $3,000 instead of spending, $900. And they can't even have the conversation with you once you disclose that. They're just owned by corporations now.
Cash price on my last MRI was $550. So
there you go.
Yeah, that was the brain.
Yeah, I did one MRI for my knee.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was through the job, so I didn't have to pay anything. But
yep.
Yeah, I try to stay out of the doctor's office as much as possible, man.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's amazing when you stay out of the doctor's office, you seem to be a lot healthier a lot of times.
Yeah. Because other than that, you go there, they're like, oh my God, your sugar's 1 point above. You know what? You got diabetes. Let's put you on medication.
Yeah, here's these statins we need you to take. Never mind that they eat brain matter.
Yeah. And they definitely want to, they're killing us. They're trying to kill us. That's what it is. It's it in a nutshell. It wants to die.
When I was growing up, the doctor that I had was more like a health coach.
Okay.
I would come in sick and he'd be like, you need to stop internalizing your stress. You need to like all of these things. He's like, I'm going to die from lung cancer because I use cigarettes to deal with my stress. And that's a terrible decision. And what I've found when shopping for doctors now is you look for somebody like that who's like, how are you sleeping? What can you do to sleep better? Are you getting enough nutrition? Those sorts of things. So they're more like a coach through low times of immune system versus it's always a pill that fixes the problem.
Right.
What does a baby have the first year they're born? The first 3 years, they have 79 vaccinations now, 79 shots. Amish don't have autism. Until that schedule changed, it went from 15 to like 30 up to 79. You can see it all coincides when you started seeing autism show up. There was no autistic kids when I was in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. They didn't exist. They weren't there.
So the argument with that too, which I find sketchy, is that when you talk about that, they're like, well, we didn't know how to identify it. I'm like, the bullshit. They were identifying autism back in the 60s, 70s, right?
Yep.
And autism is too far in between. And then they were like, well, what about mental retardation? I'm like, well, that's a different game entirely, but they were trying to mesh the two. And they were trying to say it wasn't, but when you look up autism, you look at when they first started identifying it, you're like, yeah, bullshit. I mean, hell, even Rain Man, when the movie came out, they talked about he had autism, right? He had autism and something else. It was something else he was diagnosed with. But when you tell people, look at Japan, look at China, look at India. In India, they have a decent amount of vaccines, but they're not heavy like we are. And I said, now look at us. I said the evidence is there. The evidence is there, but for some reason, people keep saying it's not the arm tickets that we take that causes it. It has to be. It has to be. We are the only country that has the absorbent amount of kids with autism.
Yeah.
Yep.
aluminum, mercury. You can also see the coincide as autism comes up, vitamin D goes down. Like when I was in elementary school, we would spend 30 minutes out at recess in the morning. You'd spend 30 minutes at recess at lunch, and you'd have 30 minutes outside later in the day. You'd be outside for 90 minutes while the teachers were all chain smoking in the teacher area. But we were outside playing all the time in the sunlight.
Well, plus after school, you were out till dark. I mean, we were 100% out till dark, running around, climbing trees, whatever, where I grew up.
Yeah. Drinking
Getting
out of the garden
hit
hose.
by kids.
Yeah.
I'm seeing people talk about weed in the chat. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All I can say is that smoke doesn't belong in your body at all. So when people tell me like smoking weed's good for you, not every day, D. It really isn't. I grew up with people who smoked weed every day. They're stupid. Their reaction time is slow.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have never had an employee come in smelling like weed where they didn't perform less. That
Right.
Not even like baseline less. I don't care what drugs you take. You better take some that speeds you up if you're on my clock, though.
Yeah, you better
Like
take
you do whatever you want. I don't think people should be in prison for it. I think
No.
when they legalized it, everybody should be out. I don't think whatever you want to do as an adult, you do that. But you're not on my team smoking weed. It is never, it's never, not only is it not up performance, it's never even kept a baseline. It just retards you. It literally slows you down.
Yep. And I tell people that, and they're like, no, it doesn't slow me down. I'm like, you're definitely slow. I'm pretty sure I could throw 2 punches before you even realize I threw the first one.
Yeah, you don't even realize that you're dumbed down.
Yeah, and the thing is, my theory with weed now is why they're legalizing it, because it makes you docile and slow. And if it makes you docile and slow, you're less of a threat to the government when you're docile and slow.
Yes,
Because
just like all the poisons.
Right, if you're high all the time, he goes, it cured my asthma. No, it did not. There's no way smoking your lungs cured asthma. not even a little bit. But now there are other ailments that weed can help with. I wholeheartedly agree. Especially if you're terminally ill, I definitely would advocate that. But people who are not terminally sick should not be smoking it on a daily basis. You know, like here and there, fine. But every day, I know what everyday weed smoking looks like.
It's called addiction. That's addiction, just like alcohol.
I was going to say, the alcohol culture is also
Oh, listen, I have whiskey.
problematic. Yeah.
I have whiskey here that I bought 2 years ago. That's how often I drink it. You know, I mean, once in a blue, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. And I'm the idiot that goes to the liquor store. I'm like, a 12-year what? I'm getting it, you know? And then I take a sip, and then it sits there for years before I finish it. You know, I don't want anything to distort my anything. And weed does that. Drinking definitely does that. Any kind of drugs, you know, hell, even including social media, right?
Yep.
Slows down a lot of the shit, eats up a lot of your time. You know, listen, they're said that humans lived a few hundred years before. We lived a long time once we started realizing how to stay healthy and how to stay out of the mouth of a saber-tooth tiger, right? Once we started learning those things in survival, our rate of survival increased dramatically. And then we started doing dumb shit like eating more sugar or making deals with the devil. And now our lifespan is what? On average, 73 years, something like that? Nothing worse than a drunk. Yeah. Drunks are bad.
Yeah, the fastest way to change my body is to stop drinking alcohol for like 4 weeks. About a month before we do an event, I stopped drinking. I stopped drinking last SRF, and I just never started drinking again. I have a huge bar, an enormous bar. I don't drink.
Yeah, you have a bar that I don't think you could possibly finish in your lifetime.
No, I mean, I collect alcohol. And for everybody that's like, well, tequila's no carbs. All alcohol metabolizes to sugar, especially if you're drinking right before you go to bed. It metabolizes to sugar. No matter what you think or what you believe, it will make you fat. And the fastest, I can drop 4% body fat almost by just not drinking for 6 weeks. All my vascularity comes in, my abs come in, my veins come in all over. by doing nothing, changing absolutely nothing other than cutting alcohol. And I only drink one drink a night.
Yeah, I don't even do that anymore.
I don't either.
Well, listen, D was like, he made a comment. He said that he doesn't have to smoke every day. He chooses to. That's what a lot of people who are addicted say. They say, I choose to do it every day. It's an addiction. I mean, listen, maybe he's stronger than others. I don't know the guy from the hole in one. I know him on here, you know, but I know that when people say that, oh, I'm not addicted to it, I just choose to drink it. Well, then go a week without smoking and see what happens. Because if you start to get itchy, nervous, and needing it, then you're addicted. And that's how you find out you're addicted, when you try to give it up for about a week.
And here's the real deal for everybody listening. What you do doesn't affect any of us.
No.
I don't need to change your mind as you don't need to change my mind. If we're having this rabid argument about it, though, maybe you should take and actually, you know, think about that yourself. I don't know most of you guys, and what you do affects me in no manner. And I'm all about it. If you want to smoke weed all day, I think that you should have the right to do that. It doesn't affect me, but you're not going to be around me and smoke weed every day. You're going to very quickly realize that you're doing something else, or I'm just not accessible to you any longer.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, that's why in the fire department, they don't want you smoking weed. You know, they're not testing it for anymore. And guys are like, oh, I said that still doesn't mean anything, man. You need to be fucking quick and sharp on this job. You can't dial it down on this job. You know, when you leave, smoke all the fucking weed you want. Meet Willie, what's his name? Was it Willie Nelson? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way?
Yeah. We're all like, yep.
Oh, shit, he died. So anyway, but yeah, like meet him and fucking, you know, smoke weed or Snoop Dogg. But yeah, you know, when you're on the job, when you're a cop, fireman, EMT, doctor, you should not be smoking that shit.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't
that's
want the high
something
performance.
Like the best thing you can do if there's a habit in your life that you are asking the question, am I doing this too much?
Yeah.
Stop it. I don't care if it's sugar, alcohol, weed, something else. Sweet tea is sugar, you know, any of those things. It doesn't hurt to say, you know what, I'm going to see if I can go 3 months.
Sure.
See if I feel different. It makes, you know, I would have resisted this just vehemently 5 years ago on the alcohol side. And then I did it. I did it for 6 months. And I was like, wow, I used to not be able to have fun around people at events and at parties without a drink in my hand that was alcoholic. Now that drink can be whatever.
It
I
showed.
still like the drink in my hand. It's usually coffee or water, but yeah.
But it showed. When you were doing 75 hard, you executed faster, you answered quicker, you physically looked like a completely different person. Everything about you was different. It was better to do business with you. I mean, like quickly, like within a couple of weeks, it was noticeable. People were talking about it. They're like, man, Nicole has really changed. Like, and that was the difference, right? The biggest part was the physical movement, the no alcohol, the rest of it, you know, reading and taking a picture and shit. But it's really the lack of alcohol and the movement.
Yeah.
Big time. Well, I didn't know you went, you know, at that point like he did, but yeah, you always see a difference when people give up a vice, you know. I mean, I had my vices too, and I'm you know, I got rid of them, but that I found that with my vices, man, it loses time, you know. You lose a lot of time with certain things, you know. So it's trying to be the better human and trying to be what the government doesn't want you to be is my mission, right? They want you to stay drunk, stay high, stay addicted to your video games so that you're more distracted and easily upset by the outside world. Whereas those of us who are focused on not being that, we let a lot of shit roll off our backs. You know, I mean, like the race thing. I know that the race thing is divisive. It's divisive on purpose. So what happened when they saw the Irish and the blacks getting along during slavery, and they were like, whoa, we can't have this shit. And then they started separating the black and the Irish with racism, right? And now it's back again, but now it's being done on the other side of the aisle. They're getting black folks to be fucking stupid and make stupid comments and say stupid things like there was a fight. I think it was this past weekend, and it was black versus white, and nobody knows what went on. But I read the comment section, and I was just like, "Fuck, man, sorry." I was like, "What's going on?" I said, "These people are fighting with white folks," and in the comment section, it's like, "Oh, this is what Black History looks like," and I'm like, it was the worst. I've never seen the amount of stupid comments I did on there. So of course, I had to be me, and I made my comments. Like, that's stupid. Why would you guys say that? This is what they want. And of course, you get called Uncle Tom and all kinds of shit after you stand on the other side of the aisle.
Yeah, it's amazing how we're so quick to critique each other rather than have an actual discussion.
Yeah, the actual discussions don't exist anymore.
Well, that's most of those people's lives exist only on the internet. Like, if you look at most people, how much of their life is actually just the internet?
A really fun way to start an argument is to just talk about drinking raw milk.
Holy shit.
Oh, you want to start a quicker argument in the city? Just wear a Trump shirt. Just have Trump on it. Not like Donald Trump, not Trump 2024, just Trump.
Or even just a red hat. It doesn't even have to say Trump. They'll misunderstand it.
I live to piss off the liberals here in the city. It's like my main focus and my main job. People are like,
you have fun with that?
Yeah, people are like, that's immature. It's like, I don't care. It's fun.
Are you seeing a ton of the imports, a ton of the illegals and non-domestics?
Yeah, what is that new term they're calling them now? Non-citizens?
Yeah, or unhoused neighbors. You're not allowed to say homeless anymore, or transient. Yeah. It's unhoused. Yeah, there's always some more benign term.
Whatever's going to piss them off is what I say. They're like, "Oh, you can't." I'm saying it. I said, "What are they going to do? They're going to cancel me?" But the migrant situation here in New York is bad. In the country, it's really bad. But here's the kicker: they are killing a lot of girls here, kidnapping them, raping them, the whole nine yards.
In plain daylight.
Yes, and nobody's calling it out on it. Nope. Now, there was a girl, a 13-year-old girl here in New York City that was just violated, right? And the guy videotapes the violation. He ties up her friend so he can watch him violate the girl. And all the meantime, I'm thinking, how can we get close enough to this guy to make sure he's never breathing again? I'm not worried about anything else because I know exactly where this is going. So then, of course, I do a little bit of research, and I find that there was another kid in Texas I heard about that was violated. I think she was killed. There was another girl, what was it, Lincoln Riley, right?
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley, who's the bigger case. And all of these things are going down in these major cities, and no one's calling it out on it. I think we should absolutely have a committee of dudes find these dudes and end it. Like when they caught the guy that violated the 13-year-old, there's no way and no reason why he should have been handed over to the cops in one piece.
He had already been in custody like 6 months prior for the same thing and released. I believe he was from Venezuela. The crazy shit is if you put a group of dudes together, the federal government would send a task force and spend more money to go after you than to prevent the crime. Same thing when dudes were hitting meth labs. There was guys running around hitting meth labs. The federal task force spent more money on enforcement going after the vigilantes than they ever did stopping the task force. Because really, when you find out and you unravel and follow that trail of money, the task force is the federal government. The whole business. Like the feds could shut off the fentanyl trade coming in, just like all the cocaine and the crack in Los Angeles. That was all the federal government.
But they don't want to do that.
No, right? Well, absolutely no.
For example, I'm a big proponent of the sex trafficking. Not proponent, but like shutting it down.
Yes.
And you can shut that down.
Yes.
They don't want to shut it down.
No.
When you see
bringing them in. How many of those kids have gone missing? How many of those kids come in unaccompanied? They hand them off to an adult that says they're there. There's no check. They don't even verify who this person is. And how many of these kids have gone missing? 500,000 kids that they've brought across the border are unaccounted for right now.
And the rub is that when you start bringing it up, especially on certain platforms, they're like, "Oh, you can't talk about it." But I said, we can talk about cutting kids' penises off and making them the opposite sex. That's fine.
Yes.
I said, but looking for kids that are missing, that's a no-no. So again, this is why I talk about a revolution. Because clearly the people that are in charge are in on it, because they could stop it if they want, but they don't want to. And we sit here idly by, worried about what Puff Daddy did to a bunch of dudes in his fucking, island paradise home or whatever it is.
That's just distraction.
It's always a distraction. Though Hollywood in itself is also another evil entity that's a part of the sex trafficking. Because these dudes, they sit around and they're like, and the sex trafficking thing, I think, is a lot darker and deeper than we want to admit. I think there's something there that if we found out and if it got out, I think a lot of people would suddenly go missing.
Well, I think it is getting out. It is getting out.
Well, I'm talking about the cannibal part.
Yes.
The cannibal part of it is definitely there. I saw something the other day and I was like, motherfucker. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is not something out of a movie. This is real. And I think if we found out who was involved in there'd be a lot of.
You have people that maneuver around all the elite Hollywood elites, right? And you have these people that say that they are satanic witches. Maybe we should fucking believe them.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we definitely are not being told the bigger picture. I think there's a lot more going on. And listen, I personally believe a lot of us can't handle the bigger picture. I think that there's so much going on that, in fact, if you told people like what they were finding out about the Bible and then they shut that down, if you told people just in theory what the Bible was or could be. Now, I resign to a lot of the stuff in the Bible. I look at a lot of things in the Bible and I believe in it. But I also have enough open-mindedness to look at it and go, but what if it is something that we don't want to entertain? I entertain everything because I don't want to be caught with my pants down or left hopeless if the truth came out about certain things.
Yeah. If we were better at raising our children to be critical thinkers, it would be easier for people to look at the horrible.
Well, you have to raise your children. Like, we can't keep sending our kids to be raised by people that hate us. You have to take control of your children's education and their future. You have to create something so great in your life that your kids want to remain and be a part of that. We send our kids out to be warehoused, and we send them to people who hate our way of lives. If you actually interviewed your children's teachers, and I know somebody's typing that their teacher is awesome, that's great, but that's not the majority of them. If you went and followed these teachers around for a weekend, you would realize you don't want your kids anywhere near them. So we send our kids to be raised by people who hate our way of lives, who spend more time with our children waking hours than we do, and then we wonder why our kids hate what we do. When in most places, you can simply opt out. Like take your kid and decide you want your kid to have a 3-day weekend every week, right? Stop sending your kid to school on Monday. Guys with guns will come to bring you to court over it. But if at the beginning of the year, you just simply said, my kid's not participating in your reindeer games, we are taking care of our kids' education, you could simply opt out of it in most states.
So we were talking earlier about just decisions you can be forced into at certain jobs where it's the job or doing this thing you don't want to do, whatever that thing is. And a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their head around, well, I could just leave the job, or I could allow myself to be fired for that decision and then build a new life. From your perspective, how hard is it to build that new life? Because that's what keeps people from doing that. They're like, I'm making my $90,000 or whatever at this job, and I've got health insurance, and I just can't because maybe I have a kid who's diabetic or whatever.
I think it's all excuses, and that's including myself. Right? I'm not above this comment, but yeah, I think we all make excuses about certain things because we are comfortable. Um, I put myself in a lot of uncomfortable situations on purpose, and that was include leaving the job when I had a choice to make. Right? When I had, hey, take this thing or leave, I left, and that was possibly one of the worst, or not worst, hardest decisions to make. It wasn't the worst. It was definitely a hard decision. But when people don't want to leave their $90,000 a year job, they can get by on way less. And I learned that traveling around the country, looking at where people are living, looking at my pension, and then saying, I can afford to live here for years and never have to work again. And I'm learning that now and realizing that, hell, maybe I only want to do one more year and then I retire. You know, but a lot of people, they're just so comfortable in everything they got around them, right? We learn how to break that connection and live out in the sticks, live out on land, make sure that you can't see your neighbor because he's a half mile or 2 miles down the road. We are comfortable with that, but there are a lot of people that are not. There are a lot of people that can't be and will never be comfortable. So they will never go out on their own because they're scared. Because there's a fear factor to starting a new life. It's the uncertainty of what's going to happen. You know, and I think that hinders a lot of people from moving forward.
The younger you are, the easier it is.
Yes, and the older you are, you start thinking about old people shit. So yeah, it makes it harder.
Comfort breeds complacency, and most people are just complacent because they have some comfort. Every time I've had something difficult that I didn't want to do or I put off, it was always a relief once I did it. And then you look back in retrospect and go, why did I continue to do that bullshit for the last 2 years? No matter what it is, we all know what it is we need to do. If I came to your house and burnt your house down and left you with no choice, you would perform. You're not going to just lay down and die, but most people stay in that situation and they're just mediocre. They don't ever achieve anything great because they don't leave the complacency. It's just like, I need to get out of California. I need to get out of California. I said that shit for 25 years. When we finally got out of California, my money tripled. Just leaving California, my money tripled. Just coming to this town. We bought property, we bought buildings, the business. Like, I was never going to start this company again and have it be what it is now. I came here just to grow a garden and work with 3 employees. I was never going to build this facility. We weren't going to do any of this stuff again. People have too many options and they don't actually pick any of them usually.
No, like you said, they're too comfortable. And it's why we'll never ever see a revolution. I dream of one, but we're never going to see it because people are too comfortable.
Yes.
Like people like all of the amenities that we have and comes with a life. And is why they're taking their time to get to completely displacing our freedoms, is they're doing it so slow, like the frog in the pot, right?
Yep.
Frog in the pot, you just turn it up a little bit at a time, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah,
food
a little tiny bit.
No one's talking about our food diminishing like we were talking about earlier. The normies are not talking about it, but we are, and we're seeing it, and we're preparing for it. But the problem is, even preparing for it, we have to think years beyond that. Because what's it going to look like? Are they going to continue to make the ground unfarmable so that you can't grow? They're going to continue injecting shit in the air so that when it rains on the ground, you can't grow anything here, right?
Yeah.
Or they're going to continue to make our animals sick so that they continue to die off, and only a certain group of people have a certain number of cattle so that they can continue to eat real meat while we eat fake bullshit, right? How far is that going to go? Well, it's going to go plenty far, right? And then by the time we decide to do something about it, well, it will be too late.
Well, that problem can only go correcting too. Like if you damage the balance in the ecosystem enough, they're also not going to get access to what they need.
Right. Yeah, I mean the craziest part of every state, if you look at California, most of it is not crazy liberals. Less than 5% of the real estate in California is wacko. If all the rest of it just said, we've had enough, we're not sending food into you guys. The electricity is not made in the cities. The food's not made in the cities. The water doesn't come from the cities. Nothing comes from the cities. Put a damn wall around them and an embargo and go, we're not playing your reindeer games anymore.
Yeah, that'll definitely ship up a lot of stuff. And when you have a state like New York, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, because you have a liberal government, a liberal governor, and a liberal mayor, and mayors throughout, right, the state.
Yes, we see them on TV every day.
Yeah, it's just a nightmare.
It'll be fun to see where you decide to move to when you do get to move.
That should be one of probably my most watched videos when I announce that. People definitely gonna get a kick out of it, because what's funny about the moving thing is everybody is what is that? Bias. Everybody wants me to move to their state, and they tell me why. This is a great state to move to. Nobody here in New York City says stay here, or New York.
No, they do not.
But there are people in PA, there are people in Oklahoma, Tennessee, Arkansas. Oh, you should move here. I'm like, I'm not moving to Arkansas. Fuck that place. There's a lot of places that people want me to move to, and I get it, because they live there and they know about it. They're comfortable, and I listen. To be fair, anything's better than New York.
I think Bear's got some people in Arkansas. I think they got a group of people over there, and property's inexpensive.
They do. What's his name's out there?
Shofar Mountains over there.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, he's out there.
Isn't that where Zach from an American Homestead is?
I think so. No.
I have no clue.
I thought he was in Arkansas. Maybe it's Ozarks. So it could be. To go look that up now. Anyway.
Anything's better than New York.
Well.
I mean, not Jersey and California.
Illinois is kind of a challenge too.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Illinois is the state I try not to drive through when going places, and it's so long that it always gets in my way. But their gun laws are not good. Yeah.
Well, listen, the gun law thing here in New York State changed, so we can carry now. But New York City is making it tough. So, being that the gun laws changed, that's a good thing. They made it unconstitutional for the ways that they were going about processing your license. They made it unconstitutional to say that we can't carry, that we can only carry, you can't even carry. You can only go for sport and hunting. So they left those two, but now stating that we can carry whenever we want. New York City tried to turn around and say you can't carry in Times Square, 14th Street. They had all these weird places, and the judge said that's illegal, right? So obviously church and entertainment venues you can't carry. That makes a little bit of sense. I don't agree with it, but fine. But I can carry anywhere in the city, and even if a cop sees me with it. Now the problem is, a cop will see me with a firearm, he's going to break my balls, because not all police are up to speed on the new laws that changed.
Man, you see guns everywhere in Tennessee. You go to Walmart, there's guns. You want to buy guns, you can buy them in the parking lot from a stranger. Tennessee, there's guns everywhere. And every church shooting has been stopped by a dude in church with a gun.
Yeah, I've seen those. I'm like, I want to be one of those guys. But you can't do that here. If someone gets up and shoot, unfortunately, you have to duck or throw something at them. And I have bad aim when it comes to throwing, so that's not going to work.
Yep. And Florida's got sheriffs that are like, shoot them twice.
Just to make sure.
Yeah. If they're breaking in your house, kill them. Like, that's what the sheriffs are saying.
But here in New York, if you pull out your firearm,
yes,
and you shoot somebody and you are justified, you lose your carry. I said, I don't care. I said, if it saved my life or somebody else's and I lose my carry, so be it. I was given and granted the right to protect someone and or myself, even if it meant losing everything that one time. And I mean, and losing my permit, But listen, like I said, moving out of here so I don't have to deal with that nonsense.
Good.
Yep. All right. Well, we're coming up on hour 40 minutes. Why don't we go once around the horn, tell people how to reach us and what we're up to, and I'll start with you, John.
I do a live every night at 9 o'clock on YouTube every day of the year. Jump on. We can have a conversation about anything you want to talk about. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I'm everywhere. I've got 5,000 videos here on YouTube, and SOE Tactical Gear is my website where you can see what actually makes the money.
Awesome. Go for it, Angry.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube. For those of you that know, I don't have anything going on. I suck at marketing, so I choose not to say anything else other than that. If you can deal with the cursing and the carrying on, my channel's for you. If you can't, do not bother. I can get out of control. So other than that, if you are interested in my photography work, you can head over to the Angry Lensman media, look at the pictures I take. Yes, some of them might be gay, but nonetheless, I like a lot of those pictures.
My authenticity is worth more than your sensitivity. That's the answer.
I like what Paul Wheaton says. I enjoy the full breadth and color of the English language.
I like that. That's a good way of putting it.
And if you want to see the Angry Preppers speak at SelfReliance Festival, check it out. SelfRelianceFestival.com for tickets. We've got early bird pricing right now at $50, which is unheard of.
Yep.
So grab your tickets before that goes up. And last Self-Reliance Festival, last October, Joel Salatin came, and he sort of in passing described how he pays people at Polyface and how he does time management on the farm. So I reached out to him and set up a webinar, which we are doing tomorrow at livingfreeintennessee.com. If you're interested, for only $45. It's a very small amount of people we're letting in. So I've limited seats. I do have some seats left right now. Check that out. And he's going to speak for about half an hour. And then we spend the next 30 minutes with whoever's on the call figuring out how to apply his time management skills to what you're doing. So that is our time management on the Homestead webinar. That's over at livingfreeintennessee.com. Guys, we'll see you next week, I think, with Jack Spirko. See you then.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.